Welcome to On the Edge. Today's guest is Charlie Scott. He is the owner of Classy Craft Service. He has worked on The Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, Osaka with Rosario Dawson, Fablemans with Steven Spielberg, Air with Ben Affleck, Viola Davis, and Jason Bateman. And he's also a poet, and he has been published in culturaldaily.com and has been published in Arts in Ashes magazine. Thank you, Charlie, for coming on the show. How are you, my friend?
Um, I am incredible. First and foremost, I got to shout you out for allowing me this opportunity, right? And to see the evolution of person that you have become and seeing that not only does she stand on top of buildings, not only has she been
Charlie,
interviewed by Oprah, not only does
Charlie,
she have a best-selling book, but she also, my friends, now has
Charlie.
generated a podcast. So to say that you are offering me this opportunity, I stand in gratitude for it, and I
Thank you.
say thank you once, I thank you twice, and I believe in everything you're doing.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you so very much. And I did not
Absolutely.
pay him. I did not pay him to say that.
I am not under contract, y'all. This is actually just me speaking from the heart.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I mentioned the name of your company is
Hmm.
Classy Craft Service.
That's correct.
Okay, let's dive in or dig into this.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay.
Yes.
So, your dad also has
Hmm.
a company.
Correct.
His company is called CC, what is it called again?
CNS Craft Service.
Okay. So
Yes.
is that how you started? Did you start with your dad?
Absolutely. So I feel like every superhero has an origin story. And
Mhm.
so mine's begin as a protege to my father. My father, still alive and well. Shout out to my
Mhm.
dad, Charlie Edward
Yes.
Scott Jr. I am the third installment. Uh,
Mhm.
so that being said, my dad started his business. He used to work at a glass factory, and the glass
Really?
factory, yes, where they made like maple syrup bottles, Heinz bottles.
Mm.
Like that was his job. He had a friend that was in the motion picture industry as a craft service person. And he would
Okay.
always like he tried to lure my dad in like breadcrumbs, right? Like come to the industry, come to the industry. My father was like, no, I'm looking for something a little more stable. I have two
Mhm.
children and a wife. But when the glass factory shut down, then my
Mhm.
dad was like, there's still a trail of breadcrumbs here. Let me just follow this. So he went with his friend. He worked as his friend's second. There's a key craft service person. That's the
Okay.
boss. Then there
Okay.
is a second, and the second is like the second in command of the ship. So he then trained my father.
Mhm.
After that film, someone else called him for a film, and he was like, I'm not available, but Charlie Scott is available.
Oh,
And
okay.
that then kicked forward my dad's career in craft service, which then spanned it over 33 years.
Oh my goodness.
And I can't say I would be here in life first, but
Mhm.
secondly, as a business entrepreneur, um, without my father then laying the groundwork and painting the yellow brick road the yellow it is.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. So when did you start working with your dad?
I was 21 years old when I
Mhm.
started working for my dad. At the time, I was working at Costco Wholesale. And Costco, yeah, yeah, come on, listen, buy everything in bulk, y'all.
Yes.
But I was at, I was working at Costco Wholesale, and I was going to Cal State Long Beach. My dad gave me
Okay.
a phone call and he said, hey, it looks like there's an opportunity for me to get you in the craft service union, which is the
Mhm.
craft service union is local 80.
Okay. Never
Grips,
knew that.
chips, and band-aids. Okay? So there's
Okay.
grips, there's craft service people,
Mhm.
and there's set medics. We are
Okay.
all in the same union. So he then called me and said, hey, there's an opportunity for you to get into the union, but you're going to have to dedicate all of your time to this because I'm
Mhm.
getting you in the union. Also, I'm teaching you the craft.
Uh-huh.
So that was a Wednesday. I had already had my classes. to start school that Monday. I went in that Thursday, Cal State Long Beach. I
Mm-hmm.
filed for a sabbatical from school. I stepped away from that, and I then became my dad's protege, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the catalytic converter to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that the beginning of your story. Doing this 25 years, I believe. 25
20,
years?
yeah, 20, well, yeah, actually 25 years. I've been doing this
Goodness.
25 years in the
Wow.
well, in the motion picture industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it has been an absolute blessing.
Yes.
And it's been an
Yes.
absolute blessing because, as you know, in the motion picture industry, we get to see the things that we would not normally see in our regular lives. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when are you able to, like, when are you able to work on a film that shuts down the whole downtown Los Angeles area for
Yes.
15 blocks?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
when do you see these things like a bus actually blowing up in front of your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that the motion picture industry gives us a cat's eye view to.
Right.
So for that, I am ever blessed, and I don't know, ever indebted to my dad,
Yeah. Yeah.
that paved the way for me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So what is in saying all that? What is your favorite part of craft service?
Okay, so for me, it's like, just say a lot of people go to their jobs, they have the same cubicle every day. They get there
Mm-hmm.
at 9, they're off at 5, they go home, they pet the dog, and they go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
not my life. Okay. Um, that's not my life. The thing is about craft service, I am there an hour before crew call. And if
Mm-hmm.
crew call is when the crew reports to set. So I'm there
Yes.
an hour before crew call. So if crew call is 7, then I am there prepped and ready by 6 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Then after we wrap, be it 14, 16, 17-hour days, I'm
Mm-hmm.
there at least an hour and a half after crew call. So
Right.
my days are very extensive,
Mm-hmm.
and we're at different locations all the time. We are carnival people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like,
Yes.
we show up, we bring the carnival to town for
Mm-hmm.
3.5 days, we leave, and then you come back and was like, just yesterday, everything was here, and
Yes.
today there's not even a speck of trash on the ground. Like,
Mm-hmm.
these people that do movies have movie magic, not just on the big screen, but when it comes to locations. And so for
Exactly.
me, it has to do with, like, not knowing where you're going to be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
could be in Phoenix, Arizona today, and then tomorrow be in Scottsdale, take a travel day back to Las Vegas, be
Uh-huh.
there for
Uh-huh.
3 weeks. And then, so I love the fact that we are always critical thinking. I love the fact that the speed of what we do is very quick. It is lightning speed. And
Mm-hmm.
I also love the fact that we're always interacting with a lot of different personalities on set. No one is the same.
Is the same. Okay. And in saying that, how do you deal with different directors, different
Mm-hmm.
actors?
Yes.
I know I'm asking you several questions
Mm-hmm.
at once, but I'm just so
Yeah.
excited to talk to you. How do you
Me
deal with the
too.
different personalities regarding the food?
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, first let's back up. Let's back up.
Okay.
First, explain the difference between craft service
Mm-hmm.
and catering because you're
Perfect.
you're different. You're a different area of the
Yes.
production. So can you
Yes.
explain that, please?
Okay. We are all in the same ocean, but in
Mhm.
different boats. So
Mhm.
when it comes to catering, catering does breakfast. They have there's 6 hours before when breakfast is, then when lunch is. They do
Mhm.
lunch, they
Mhm.
pack up, and they go home.
Mhm.
As the craft service person, it is my job to do everything in between that. So I'll have, like, snacks in the morning. So if you go to the caterer and you got pancakes, you can come to me and I would have the yogurt. They
Mhm.
also have yogurt, but I would have the parfaits, I would have the bagels, I would have the donuts,
Mhm.
I would have
Mhm.
the espresso. Come on, listen. And cronuts are a real thing,
Yes.
y'all. Um,
Yes.
croissants and donuts. If you haven't had it, listen, that
Mm.
gift's for you. Okay.
Whew,
Um,
yes.
so it's my job to have those things, and I do a meal 3 hours after we get there. So you have
Mm-hmm.
breakfast with the caterer. I then do what we call a hot snack before
Mm-hmm.
lunch, and which
Mm-hmm.
is anything from like panini sandwiches to Zanku chicken to
Mm.
Panda Express, just depending on budgetary
Mm-hmm.
needs, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then after that, it's lunchtime. After lunch, the caterer goes home. 3 hours after lunch, I do what's considered a second meal.
Okay.
And a second meal is me providing a hot meal 3 hours after lunch, sometimes later, depending on how late we're filming. So
Mm-hmm.
it's on the back end of our day. And then I do the hot snack, and everybody's like, wait, it's 3 a.m. Oh, you have clam chowder bowls. Thank you,
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes, especially when it's cold outside. I love
Yes.
the soups that you all bring. It just warms you up inside. You know,
Thank you.
that's just awesome. Okay, so now can we go
Yes.
back to
Mm-hmm.
what is so many questions. Okay.
Take it. Yeah, we're here.
I
We're here
know,
for the
I know.
long run. You
I
know what I
know,
mean?
I
It's a
know.
roller coaster. I'm just strapped in. I got my hands up. We're about to
That's
hit the
right.
loop, arm
That's
twist.
right.
So yeah, go ahead.
Let's go for this ride. Exactly. Okay. Have you ever burned anything on set?
um, I've never burned anything
Okay.
personally on set, but the thing is, um, as a craft service person, there's two ways to do things when it comes to hot
Mhm.
food. There's
Mhm.
electric shapers. I love to use the electric shapers because they're very sleek, they're
Mhm.
neat, and think of like what it would look like on a wedding day.
What is an
If
electric chafer, first of all? What is
Oh,
that?
there we go. Okay, so an electric shaper is what you would see if someone said, "Hey, we're having a wedding, but our wedding's going to be buffet."
Okay.
The things that you get the food out of, the food,
Oh,
those are
okay.
actually called shapers.
Never knew that.
In the
Okay.
industry, craft service, we call them burners.
Right. That's what
Yeah,
I've heard. Okay.
yeah, we call them burners because initially when they were made, they weren't electric. They were just like the can that you light the sterno.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
everybody just called them burners. But as
Okay.
things continue to evolve in the industry, the electric shaper or the electric burner is, I like it much better because it's clean, it's neat, it's very classy, and that going to the name, classy craft service. Like I try to make sure that everyone on set has the upper echelon of what
Mhm.
is available for us at the time.
Uh-huh.
Because if we're going to spend, like I said earlier, 14 to 17 hours a day on set, we should be comfortable. And to
Mhm.
lead back to where you were and said how, with the other question about the personalities on set,
Yes.
the way
Yes.
that I deal with the personalities on set is the way that I deal with the personalities of people in my regular life. Not
Mhm.
everyone is the same.
Right.
So if all people or humans are not the same,
Mhm.
then I can't give them the same standard of care, right? And when I say the same standard of care, I mean if I know that you're a little more emotional, then I'm going to meet you where you are. And if we
Mhm.
can, as if across the globe, if we could just meet people where they are. So someone says, "Hey, listen, I have a nut allergy." Oh, okay, cool. I do things that are vegan. I do things that are gluten free.
Mhm.
People that are paleo. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there's different facets of doing food. You can't just do what you love to eat because
Right.
what I love to eat may not resonate with someone that has a nut allergy. So what
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
is, even though there's a regular size crew is between 150 and 200
Yes.
people.
Okay.
So even though we're doing 150 to 200 people, if I know you have a need, I meet that need. Even
Mhm.
if that means I'm like, yo, I have something for you. It's already boxed up. Just
Yes.
don't tell anybody. So like, and just like the
I love
industry,
that.
we all make our own deals.
Right.
Like when it comes to like finance or whatever or rental equipment, we all
Mhm.
make our own deals.
Mhm.
So I try to make my own deal with almost everyone. Not everyone, not all 200 people are going to say they want something, but
Right.
probably 25. I
Really?
mean, I can accommodate
Uh-huh.
25,
Wow.
you
Okay,
know?
so we were talking about dealing with different people, different personalities,
Yes.
allergies,
Yes.
vegan,
Mhm.
pescatarian, and the crew
Mhm.
size being over 200 people.
Yes.
How do you shop for that? Where do you shop?
Oh man, there's okay. So if you think I think of shopping as like it's an onion that you have to peel back,
Mhm.
right? Because there's certain times if I'm getting off of work at 3 in the morning and when I have to be back at work is let's say 12:30 or 1 in the afternoon, like there's and I live in Long Beach,
Oh
so
my
we're usually
goodness.
in like we're Warner Brothers or we're
Uh-huh.
Fox, Universal. So I'm taking consideration that time. If it gets too late, I have to call it in like the bat signal. You
Uh-huh.
know, I have certain vendors that do certain things. So when I
Okay.
can't make it to Costco or if I can't make it to Gelson's,
Mhm.
then I'll call and say, "Hey, I need these things." And there's
Mhm.
a vendor out there right now that covers all of your needs.
And when you say
Everything
vendor, when
vendors.
okay,
Yes.
so when you say vendors,
Hmm.
you mean that they will go shopping for you and bring it to
Yes.
you?
Yes,
Really?
because well, this is it was before Uber Eats, there were craft service vendors.
Okay.
And the craft service because there was a need. Because the hours that we work, then how
Yes.
can you then get up, go to Smart and Final, be there
Mm-hmm.
at a certain time, then
Mm-hmm.
pack up your vehicle, then take it to set, then download your vehicle,
Download.
then
Mm-hmm.
take it to your work trailer, then put it
Right.
in the work trailer, and then from there, file it into everything that it needs to go, and also be there for your call time.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 hours after that, have your hot snack ready. So then the
Right.
job starts to be all encompassing. And when that
Wow.
happens, you start to lose self when these things happen because you become more Charlie Craft Service than you are Charlie Scott the third
Hmm.
because you're giving so much
Yeah.
to the phone calls that don't stop, the
Uh-huh.
emails that don't
Uh-huh.
stop. Because the same way people say it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world,
Right, right.
when we're off of work, there's some vendor that's still working and needs an
Mm-hmm.
answer. Or
Mm-hmm.
there's a production supervisor that said, "Hey, quick question, Charlie." But everything in our industry, even if someone says take your time, it means right now.
It means right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Take all the
just
time you need right
but
now.
right now, exactly. So just so that people know, Long Beach is a good hour and change away
Away
from Warner
from
Brothers,
mhm.
Fox Studios,
Yes.
Paramount. So you have quite a drive on top of getting everything refilled, getting stuff
Yes.
loaded. You
Yes.
have a lot to do, which I never would imagined all of these things that you have to do. Do you
Yeah.
do some sort of a spreadsheet on things that you want to buy, or like how do you
Yes.
handle
Yeah,
that?
I keep boy. Because the thing is, if you have your favorite, say your favorite is a Kinder Bueno bar. The Kinder
Hmm.
Bueno bar, I have a person that does like overseas chocolates.
Oh, my favorite.
So I'll say, okay, I'm gonna need German chocolates. I'm gonna need like they just do all the overseas candies that you'll never see in American stores. Now, if I know this is your favorite, then I
Hmm.
can't run out of this. So
Right.
I say, okay, today I bought one box. Okay, and then okay, so at the beginning, let's start to the beginning of a film and then go back to
Hmm.
that because at the
Hmm.
beginning of the film, the first week, I'm gonna know exactly where we stand with the things that people like, people
Hmm.
dislike, and then
Okay.
certain things that I thought people would like, they don't. Now that's off the list.
Okay.
Now, starting the second week, the list has evolved to what
Hmm.
it will probably be for the rest of the film by seeing how people have acclimated to the snacks that I've given them.
Okay.
So then at the might start the first week and now the Kinder Bueno bar, it's one box, but everybody ate through them within a day and a half. Okay, we're probably going to need two
Wow.
boxes or 2 boxes and a half to last
Okay.
the week. Now that
Uh-huh.
changes to the number 2 boxes in the
Uh-huh.
spreadsheet.
Gotcha.
And so
Gotcha.
next week, I'm like, okay, cool. and then I assess everything. I'm always
Mhm.
assessing. Like things are ever changing, ever evolving. Nothing is
Mhm.
ever the same. Even if you're
Right.
in the same location with the same call time, with the
Mhm.
same people, it will be a completely different environment and a
Mhm.
completely different day. So we have to be ever present,
Okay.
always listening, and just I try to keep the same temperament because that's another thing that's may or may not be talked about in our industry. There's a lot of the personalities, you know,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
what I try to do is always if you're meeting someone where they are in the personality, then I also stay here because whatever
Okay.
someone else is going through at home that they
Mhm.
haven't had time to consult with
Mhm.
because they've only been home 6 hours last night or seven
Right.
hours last night as a turnaround time, they're going to come to work and still be holding that on their shoulder.
Mhm.
So there's a because the craft service person is considered the bartender of set,
Right.
everyone comes in and gives me all of their secrets.
Really? So
So
that's interesting.
I end up being the Fort Knox because I've never told this secret because someone will come in and talk about their boss and then they'll leave and then 10 minutes later their boss will come in
Uh-huh.
and talk
Uh-huh.
about them and then they'll
Mm.
leave and I'm
Hmm.
like I didn't hear one out
One
in one
thing.
ear out the other.
Yes,
Some people just need an opportunity to vent
exactly.
in order to get on with their day. And a
Mhm.
lot of times people carry the antics that happen at home to their work life. And without a place to express these things, they anchor themselves throughout the day. And it's kind of
Right.
hard to move forward.
I can see that. I mean, we're all human. We all go through
Yes.
that. Do you have a favorite food that you love to bring to set, that you
Oh
love to
boy.
cook?
Okay, so as a craft service person,
Mhm.
there are certain craft service people that cook.
Mhm.
Um, and most of the time, we are providers.
Mhm.
Unless you have a very small crew, then you
Mhm.
can, I mean, if you have a small crew, like it's a commercial and there's 40 people, you can cook for
Yes.
40 people.
Mhm.
Once it hits like 85, you know, um, then we start providing different shapers of things. But
Mhm.
man, I love so many things. I love to do dumplings on set.
Mhm.
I love that. I love like oh boy, I love to do sushi. I have
Uh-huh.
a vendor that comes out and hand rolls sushi on
Stop it.
set,
Uh-huh.
sushi and sashimi.
Mhm.
I have a person from New Orleans that owns a food truck that I use,
Mhm.
and he comes and does like po' boy sandwiches, like
Is
fresh po' boy
is
sandwiches.
is that Pull Brothers, Pull Boy Brothers, I think they're called? Is
Yes,
that
it's
them?
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
I know them. I've had their food. It's really good.
That and that's another thing too, like people might not remember the location they were on, but they
Mhm.
remember exactly what they ate.
Yes.
And because
Yes.
there's like the same way that you can smell something right now and be like, wow, in second
Mm.
grade,
Mhm,
Miss
mhm.
Johnson used to cook those Miss Field cookies, and it brings you back to a place. It's the same way food does for people on the crew. Not only is it gives them sustenance, but
Mhm.
if you continue to feed people, they don't know that they've been there 19 hours.
Exactly. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel comfortable. It
Yes.
makes you feel good and cozy. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you're giving them sustenance to keep them going throughout
Yes.
the 12, 14-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you have different vendors that you shop with, that you
Yeah.
use.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prior to actually coming on set, do
Mm-hmm.
you get a head count? Do they tell you how many people are going to be on set, and how does
Yeah.
that work?
What ends up happening is before a film starts, like
Mhm.
I do my start paperwork. after that, they send you what they call an extras breakdown.
Okay.
So I know from day one to day 47 how many people are going to be on set.
Okay.
Now, there's small variations, like, oh, it was supposed to be 65, but then we cut it to 58. Okay. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like most of the time, it's like it's pretty much the gospel in feeding people.
Mm-hmm.
You go, and I usually keep it up. They email it to everyone. And then I say, okay, on the 22nd day, we're gonna have 300 extra people. So that
Mm-hmm.
means for me, I have to have extra crew on my
Okay.
team,
Uh-huh.
and I have to be ready for extra people for 2 meals and to snack all day. So your budget
Mm.
is going to exponentially grow when you have more people, because some people will come in and be complete professionals and be like, "Oh, I'm just hungry." Or some people will come in and fill up their JanSport backpack with
Yes.
snacks. And
Mm-hmm.
again, like there's two schools of thought on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Schools of thought like, man, you're taking all of these things from production, which is true, and it makes it much harder to do my job. On the other side, on the converse side of that, some of the people that are doing background work haven't worked, don't have a job,
Mm-hmm.
often might have worked once in the last 2 months, and they're
Mm-hmm.
hungry.
Yeah.
So I try not to judge when things like this happen, because
Mm-hmm.
I never know where another person has come
Persons
from,
come from. Yes.
and I never want to embarrass anyone on anything, especially food.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're stacking your backpack with food,
Yeah.
you're hungry.
You're hungry. Exactly.
And
And
it's a lot of times when we're making movies, some of those some of the humanities fall by the wayside,
mm-hmm.
because it's go time. We're in this work mentality, but
Right.
then in the same ride, I'll stop and be like,
Wait a
okay,
minute.
you want two extra chips,
Yeah.
five waters, and
Mm-hmm.
4 granola bars. Okay, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
like it's gonna make it harder for me to do the job. I'm
But
not gonna go in like I'm not.
you're
If
still Charlie at the end of the
I'm,
day.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Yeah.
I'm always trying to the best of my abilities to be my best self
Mm-hmm.
every single day. And if you can bless someone with like a hello, or you say, yeah, okay, cool. You want those 2 extra granola bars? Cool, no big deal. At the end, if I have extra food, come see me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that
Ah,
too. Like
you're
I've
so
seen
kind.
people do that, and then like not even in front of people, just like off to the side, be like, hey, and I won't even say anything about the snacks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say, hey, we're having a second meal this evening. If we have anything extra, I'll make you a plate. Just come by and
Oh,
see me. You don't have to say anything to anybody. Just come see me.
yeah.
And I said I'll make it very. It's not even. It's not even because food insecurity is like we don't even have to talk about it. I know it exists.
It's
We
real.
know. You know where you are. I know where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And come get a plate.
You know, I
That's it.
always I always wondered, well, I know why. At
Hmm.
the end of the day when the caterer leaves, there's always so much food.
Yes.
And I understand why they can't just give it to the homeless because there's a
Hmm.
potential lawsuit. But
Hmm.
it still bothers me. So I'm
Yes.
happy to hear that you do, if there's food left over, I'm happy to hear that you will give it to some background performers or
100%.
whomever wants it.
Hmm.
I'm happy to
Also,
hear
I
that.
started getting aligned with a few places here in Long Beach that will literally, no matter what time it is, they'll drive to you and pick up the food.
Ah, I love that.
Yes.
I love
So,
that.
like, sometimes it's like, what time do you think you're? Because it's always a guess when we're gonna wrap, right? We know
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, when did we get off? You'd be like, well, my 12 hours is
Yes.
6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I will say, like, I'll have I've spoke to, like, actually there's a few places in Long Beach that I use. They have been a very good blessing to me. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
call them at 3 a.m. and say, hey, it looks like we're going to be wrapping at 4. And they'll
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, we'll have someone there around 4:15.
Okay.
Cool. And then they'll show up. I'll give them the access items, and then it distributes through different places in Long
Mm-hmm.
Beach. So
That's great. That's great.
yeah.
God bless you for doing that.
Oh man. Thank you.
What is one of the strangest things that you've ever been asked to provide?
Okay. Um, and so, well, this is a very long time ago,
Okay.
and there was a certain water that was not accessible at the time.
Hmm.
And I would call overseas to get water delivered by the pallet.
Wow. Now, I'm
Well,
assuming, go ahead. No,
yes,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, 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 go
And the
ahead.
thing, the thing is about Hollywood. If you're going to pay an actor or an actress um, $30 million or $20 million for a film, it's
Hmm.
all about their execution.
Hmm.
What gets them to that extra execution? Them being comfortable in their environment.
Hmm.
And the things that make them comfortable, in most cases, they have a driver pick them up. They have some, if you're at a certain level, you will have your personal chef that cooks for you, and you'll have what we call a writer. And your writer is what comes like the day I sign my start paperwork, I usually get a writer for an actor or an actress, all the
Hmm.
things they are going to need
Okay.
to be comfortable. And then after that, I get the background, the extras breakdown.
Uh-huh.
So in coming in, and there's like, then I correspond with not only production, but I correspond directly with their personal assistant or
Hmm.
directly
Oh,
with
that's
them,
good.
depending on the actor or actress. And
Hmm.
then we get everything dialed in like it should be for what
Hmm.
their person needs to be successful.
Okay. That's
So
very interesting. We all have heard that joke that someone's requested only green M&Ms to be in their
M&M's,
trailer.
yeah, only green. And there was again early Hollywood. The people were very apt to do that. As Hollywood progressed forward, that was not something that I have seen in a very long time. But
Hmm.
early on in my career, I did see those things. And I was like, interesting, because I think it came to a point where people had never had um, this much access or abundance. Or when you live in a world that everyone says yes to,
Hmm. Hmm.
then you're like, oh, well, in that case, I normally pick out all the blue ones. Can I just have the green ones? You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
came away from that, and that ended up being like that's kind of frowned upon now
Hmm. Okay.
when people ask for things that are kind of like through the roof.
Out of the ordinary.
Hmm.
Exactly. Do you have a Pinterest board for foods that you want to serve on set? Do you do those types of things?
No, I don't
No.
have a Pinterest board, but what I do like, I love like the Gordon Ramsay shows, right?
I love that. Yes.
So I love the Gordon Ramsay shows because to me they're very cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
This is the state of the culinary arts. And
Yes.
from that, I like the color schemes on plates. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I like the way he matched that. So when I order it, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. Listen, not at that budget, but this is the budget we can do things and kind of do like an offset of that because
Mm-hmm.
it's done, I think, the way he carries himself. And you have to be pristine to work in the kitchen. Like, it's very like, I love when things have this, what is this, like this illustrious look to them because we eat with our eyes before we ever eat
Yes.
with our
Yes.
mouths. So
Mm-hmm.
if something is acutely beautiful on the plate, the first
Mm-hmm.
thing you're gonna do is eat that first.
Ah, yes. Yes. I know we've all seen that where the plate is decorated so
Yes.
with the drizzle and the
Uh-huh.
colors and the way it's arranged, and I love that. So is that the most exciting part of food for you? What is the most exciting? Is it Do you cook at home?
Hmm.
You know?
Well, I don't cook at home because I serve every day.
Okay. So
Yeah.
does that mean that you eat out a lot? You order?
Yes. Yes. I'm
Okay.
always I'm always eating out because at
Mm-hmm.
work, like I am in, it's in the name craft service. So we
Right.
are always, initially it
Service.
came from craft service. I'm gonna go back and then I'm gonna go forward, give
Okay.
you an origin story on craft service.
Okay.
Initially, craft service was someone that serviced the crafts. So my job when I came to set, if the grip needed help, was to help them. If special effects needed help, then to help
Yes.
them. That was
Okay.
craft service.
Service.
So this is why in our contracts we can touch anything on set. Like I could see a camera and be like, "Oh, I can pick up a camera because my local says we can touch everything." Like a person that's in the electric compartment can't touch a camera if it's right
Mm-mm.
in, they'd be like, "No, call the camera department and have them move it." So
Right.
a craft service person is also someone that can drive a transpo van because
Really?
you're a craft service
Service.
person and you're servicing the crafts.
Uh-huh.
Now, years ago, what ended up happening was the craft service guy would go buy, or woman would go buy a some donuts. They'd
Mm-hmm.
bring the donuts, they'd bring the coffee, they'd set it on a table, and there'd be a tip jar.
Mm-hmm.
People from set would tip in the jar, and then the
Really?
craft service person was like, okay, I spent $20. Oh, there's 30 here. I made $10.
Uh-huh.
And then the next day would do the same thing. Then, as things progress and the true evolution, now we serve food as our service
Mm-hmm.
to the craft. But in the same right, when there is a special effects explosion, you'll also see craft service people helping them clean up.
Oh.
And that's why when there's a spill on set, hey, craft service, yes, go to
Mm-hmm.
two. Boom, you go to two on your
Mm-hmm.
walkie. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we got this spill on set. Can you send someone in? And then you say, flying right in.
Flying in. Yes. So you have worked on a lot of big movies and TV shows. Do
Yes.
you have a favorite?
Wow. I would say, man, I have a few favorites. Um, okay, one of my favorites was Burlesque. I
Mm-hmm.
worked on Burlesque and I was able to see like Christina Aguilera sing what she truly is in her spiritual being when she does so. I was able to
Mm-hmm.
see Cher do the same thing, and it was just like getting a free concert every day.
Yes. Oh.
Um, I did do my dad. Well, actually, my dad and I did Burlesque, and my
Uh-huh.
dad and I also did A Star Is Born together.
Oh my goodness.
Um, so
Okay,
that
no.
like some of my most awesome times that I have had on set, it was like being there with your dad. And my dad's like from Alabama, like he grew up like super poor in a house that had a dirt floor,
Oh my
you
goodness.
know, and then comes from Alabama with $100 and a reversible suit. One side was blue and one side was black, you know,
Wow.
and now here we are in
Yes.
Hollywood, like on Sony Studio, um, just watching these things unfold. Like there's not a day that goes by that I'm not, wow, like in again, gratitude
Gratitude.
for the just the blessing of being in a world where I get to make believe
Mm-hmm.
and be in that movie magic every day.
Yes. Yes. I
So those
love
are
that.
some of my favorites, but I also did a film called it's called Mank,
Uh-huh. I don't think
and it's David Fincher.
okay.
And he did Seven. He also did he did Fight Club. He also did Benjamin Button.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mank is a black and white film, and
Really?
it's and it's about the person who wrote Citizen Kane. And Citizen Kane, as people who love movies, it's pretty much called the best movie like of our time, you know, when it
Exactly.
comes to the Citizen Kane. So that was one of my favorites to work on,
Mm-hmm.
Mank, and I would say, um, hmm, oh boy, uh, Fableman which was the Steven Spielberg project.
Mhm.
Because I remember being young and going to Universal Studios and seeing the world of E.T.
Uh-huh.
Like someone on a bike and an alien in the front, and what the cinematography looked like in that film. And then to get that phone call,
Oh
to
my
be able to
gosh.
work on a film with Steven Spielberg that
Mhm.
was telling the story of his life.
Yes, yes.
Um, these are Oprah would call them aha moments,
Aha moments. Yes,
you know,
exactly.
and
Exactly.
these are, for me, these are markers,
Mhm.
right? These are markers to say where we have come from, which I've never forgot,
Yeah.
and also to know this will also be something that will propel us forward into the future.
Mhm. Okay, so we mentioned earlier that you're also a poet.
Yes.
Does food
Hmm.
inspire your poetry? Do you have any poems about food? Because this is
It's
what you
greens, beans, potatoes, you name it. Um, for me, it's like it's not the actual food, it's just experiences for me.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
anything that has been anything that I've run into in life that has been a spark or a flame of inspiration, I
Mhm.
usually have written something about because it has moved me. So whenever I feel spiritually moved, I always like I'll bring out my phone and put it in my notes and say,
Mhm.
"Oh, oh yeah, yeah, this is oh perfect." And even if I can't write the actual poem, then what I will do is then go home and when I have the time, write the poem up from the ideal that came from whatever I just saw.
Do you think that poems should rhyme?
Um, well, some poems do, and some
Mhm.
poems don't. For me personally, I don't rhyme every line for
Mhm.
me, but
Okay.
that is someone else's style. Just like if you see a hip hop artist now, like
Yeah.
E40 is not J. Cole,
Mhm.
you know?
It's different.
And that's the way poetry is. Like we are all as poets writing from the epicenter of our truth. And if
Whew.
we can do that, and keep our thumb pulse on society,
Mhm.
then we then become what we call contemporary griots. And a griot was someone in African culture who used to go to different parts of their area where different tribes were, and they would memorize what happened here.
Mhm.
If you just had a baby, then you'd be like, okay, cool. Then you would take it back down to the south and say, hey, this is what's happening in the north,
Mhm.
and then everyone would know what was going on from tribe to tribe to tribe. This is what the griot did. So now, fast forward, poets such as myself, I am a contemporary griot, and it is my job to write that truth through that lens as a time capsule. So
Mhm.
years from now, if you hear a poem, you're like, oh, this is what was happening at
Happening.
that time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do you have a favorite poet?
Yeah, I do have a favorite poet. My favorite poet is a person named Steve Connell. He is
Okay.
a professional poet,
Mhm.
professional performance poet, and he was the one who showed me that poetry just doesn't have to be in coffee shops. It can also be on corporate stages
Mhm.
and be in film and in television.
And don't
So,
forget the biggest stage of all, the inaugural.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
And ironically enough, oh man, ironically enough, just I was able to perform at the inauguration of the first African American mayor in Long Beach,
Really?
which was
Wow.
last year.
Uh-huh.
So he reached out to me before he became mayor and said,
Mhm.
"What I would like to do is I would like to have you at inauguration, and I would like for you to say a poem."
Ugh,
So,
Charlie, you are
wow.
amazing. And in
Um,
saying that, would you
Yeah.
mind? Would you mind closing us out with a poem? Is that
Sure.
possible?
I'll do something
Okay.
really short. Like
Okay.
what I give you is probably a minute long.
Okay.
She is God's blueprint of a woman, the majesty of Eve's body without fig leaves. A carbon copy of heaven's rest haven, she has mastered the beauty of angels and radiates sunsets with her being, but she is human. Her flaws are what make her flawless. She relates relationships to the life and times of magazines, reading through lies and trust issues. Even angels' wings are fragile. Fractured too many times, flying becomes difficult. Wind blows through broken wingspan, too brittle to stand. Weak, like 7 days with flu symptom. The heat beats, kerosene on flame, body aches with every inch of movement. Tears move to suicide, finding freedom on her face. The only freedom she will face is soaring. Flying becomes descending, falling from cumulus clouds, feathers ripple from skyline, wings too hindered to heal, too holy to fly. God help me hold her in my arms, spiraling at speeds that exceed the speed of light. She lit my life and shined, since I, like Adam, laid eyes on her, and her, like Eve, a body part of me. Thanks, y'all.
Charlie, Charlie, Charlie.
So, listen,
Yes.
we have talked about the Clark Kent, and we have also talked about the Superman. So, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for
Mhm.
coming on. You have been a pure pleasure, treasure to speak with. I'm so glad that I can call you my
Yeah.
friend.
Oh man,
I,
I love you dearly.
I love you back, and I can't wait until we can work together again and you could feed
Yes.
me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
So God bless, and you have a
hmm
beautiful weekend. Thank you, Charlie.
Can I tell them how to
Yes.
find me?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm so
Not that I'm
sorry.
lost though.
Please.
I'm not
No, no,
lost,
no.
y'all.
You're
Y'all
not
can just
lost.
find me.
Please. You can. Yes.
These are my socials. It's philosophy style
Mm,
on Instagram, and it's also philosophypoetry.com. I give high fives and hugs. I'll see you soon.
yes.
Angela, I love you. Congratulations on your
Thank you
podcast.
for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to follow Angela Merle and On the Edge with Angela Merle on IG for quick clips of every episode.